Hey, are you tired of the media spinning the truth and pushing false narratives upon you?
No, I'm not.
The media
Well,
spinning the
hello,
truth.
everyone. How are you doing? It is Friday, and welcome. We made it through another fabulous week. Glad to see everyone here. And yeah, I love that music. Tell you what, that's just some far out stuff. I don't care what anyone says. I enjoy it a lot. So, how are you? Hey, haven't forgotten to do the tones ourselves. Sometimes I hear tones, when I'm just meditating. Sometimes I hear complete songs. You're meditating and you're really getting into a serious thought, and you're really getting, and all of a sudden the mamas and the papas come in. And then you're California dreaming. What can I say? Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, moderators. You are all the best. You're just sweet souls, and privilege and honor to know you all. And the rest of everyone in the community, same goes to you. Hey, peace. That's what I say. Make love, not war. Yeah. So let me just invoke favor upon everybody. Favor from on high, the favor that is like the feeling of a pair of shoes, a pair of shoes that just fit you perfectly. And if your feet are happy, you are happy. If your feet aren't happy, you won't be happy at all. So anyway, nothing missing, nothing broken found in your lives. We just believe in complete and full restoration. There you go. So last night, Steiger perspective. Yeah, there's two ways you can take things. Things that can happen that, let's say, other forces, other energies would like to see your vibration change from that positive all of a sudden to the base. And when you laugh at it instead of getting upset about it, ain't nothing to worry about, baby. So yeah, little technical issues, but the 23 minutes that we're in were very interesting. Just a little thing that, just to let you know, there was an actual article that made up scenario. I made up the story. I mean, it was all completely my imaginations, but yikes, you speak it out there and instant manifestation, right? The grid is malfunctioning. The grid be breaking down. That's all I gotta say. And that leads us right into this whole thing about all of us need protection. We're truly into the matrix. I mean, that was the what they would call the mind virus. The first one particularly, it shattered the whole collective consciousness. I mean, it seeped right in. That's why media, movies, and of such are so powerful, because they will, and they do, bring together a collective consciousness, intelligence into focus. And, you think about our history, 200 years ago, they didn't have movies that you could literally immerse yourself into. Um, I happen to think that if you think about the ability that we have today using this medium called the internet, um, wow, it is a medium, same thing that all religions use, psychics, you know, meditation, metaphysical. It's all the same thing, baby. It's just a different flavor and a different color. That's all it is. So today, I was thinking about this before I went live, that we are learning together as a group, and it's an intimate group here. It is. By the time everyone arrives, it's about, we get about 250, and that's where the group is at. Others watch it later, and I'm talking about when we do live, and our community is actually a couple thousand people strong, and that's amazing. All hearing the same message, being able to focus in on the same topics. Yesterday's topic, I got this email, and the person said, well, thanks a lot, Steiger. Now you've blown my complete image of what a perfect God was supposed to be. So now I got to start all over again. Yeah, it's all right. We it was just a thought, but a deep one nevertheless. Isn't it true? Oh, Richard Oak says he watched multiple times today. That's cool. Hey, David Barry, how you doing? Hey, Lois. Hello. Chloe, good to see you. Susie Q. KT, good to see you. Merritt, just kind of looking. Hey, Eric, how are you doing, my friend? Always good to see you as well. Naomi, hello. Regina, good to see you. Willow, hello. Truth Seeker, peace. Tunnel of Life, love it. Pure Love Ascension, hello. Marguerite, how are you doing? Divine Empress, hello. Hey, Brian, good to see you, my friend. Terry and Twisted Isby, got your email. Got a couple of email, going to be getting to them, so just be patient. Lost in Space, hello. Favor to you, my friend. Jack, good to see you. So, we have, as a group, been under attack, and I think we just need to not find it strange. I think it's going to happen. It's, when you start having a resistance and build an opposing force to an inertia that has been there for quite some times, you're going to get pushback because we're pushing back, and that's what's being felt. And got me to thinking, by the way, I'm going to be reading this weekend. This one really looks good. It's called The God Virus. Yeah. Dr. Daryl Ray. Anyway, I think that's part of the problem. We are becoming an antiviral to the virus. And that makes us even more dangerous because we're actually injecting our DNA now into it and turning the table, so to speak. So let's get into this thing about what we need in psychic protection. We are psychic creatures. It is no doubt about it. We are. And, particularly when you start dealing in the, metaphysical, the spiritual, the etheric realm, it's where we're all going to go. What's where we are now. It's where we all came from. We're just here temporarily, but nevertheless, we have to relearn things. And one of the things that I think we all can agree on is humans are under a net. I don't care how you look at it. If you look at it, the net in the definition as a firmament, I mean, we are under a seal on this planet. To escape this net, this field, requires you to, number one, to be in a specially made craft that has the ability to, number one, generate a great deal of speed, energy, that can break through the resistance that the atmosphere poses. It's a resistance. It's designed to keep us here. And if it wasn't, we wouldn't be alive. But Nevertheless, just because we've just recently discovered electricity and understood how nodes work doesn't mean that our ancestors, the other subspecies of man, didn't figure it out themselves. It's just very obvious. But what we do know, it's all about the brain. Everything happens up here. That's an interesting concept. If you look this forward and you think about people who do ghost hunting, spiritualist work, etc. I've often wondered two things. So, do all spirits have a brain? And the other question I have, does everyone speak English in the spirit realm? And even if I'm exceptionally good at telepathy, I'm sending out telepathic thoughts in English. Is there a universal translator that all spirits can just naturally just pick up what, a person that may speak Greek, Portuguese? I mean, there is just a number of different things. Anyway, I digress. It's just something to think. But anyway, you look at it, this is the control center. Your mind, your brain has this unique ability that can bring you up and it can bring you low. And, the idea, again, is to find that balance. Don't let people push your buttons. It's the old expression, or you ever heard that someone says, well, they've got your number. So we're going to find out really how much that's going to play. So I think we've all pretty much agreed that it is a electric reality. I don't know about electric universe, a plasma universe, whatever, but I know here it's truly electric. So protection is a must. Got to have it, baby. That's why we wear sigils, amulets, talisman, charms. I wear one. Actually, I have many. And, listen, the thing about it is that your faith will activate any inorganic matter. It literally will activate it, make it come alive. It's my contention that we have been studying thus far through sigils, symbols, understanding what this is all about, how it affects us up here. We're dealing with living entities. I think they literally live within the circuit. And the circuit nowadays is advancing, increasing, and all this has a direct correlation on psychic energy. All of it's connected. I contend that they're here, been here. They don't look like us, they're not like us, but they can be exactly like us. If intelligence evolves, man would be absolutely foolish to think that his is only the only highest intelligence. That's the arrogance. That's the trap. Because I contend that what we're dealing with in dealing with the spiritual realm, now I don't know if these beings dominate that realm. They may have created that realm for us. That realm that we call the ether, that realm that we call the hereafter, the afterlife, may be nothing more than a synthetic created hologram designed to keep us ever, ever busy. It may very well be that we will never know, maybe because we cannot know what it truly is. I know this, they're everywhere. If you have electricity, no matter how it's generated, they're there. Have been. We know that we ourselves individually are energy beings. We know that we can transfer energy from one person to another. When you embrace a person whom you love, one that you have fond affection for, one that you have intimacy with, there is a direct exchange of energy going on. Psychically, physically, emotionally, every way. And this also works in the negative. We all have known beings, people that, I mean, you would rather take an ass kicking than be around them. They will bring you down. They just suck the energy right out of you. It's draining. And many times these are the people that are not even aware that they're doing it. Maybe subconsciously they are. They're the ones that, well, we've all met them. So what are some of the signs of a psychic attack? Well, here's just a couple. Less immunity than before, sudden change in character, lack of clarity in thinking, obsessive negative thoughts, irritating all the time, irritation, ongoing bad luck. Think about that one. Excuse me. Ongoing bad luck. Crying for no reason. Yeah, sudden energy loss, sudden depression, hallucinations, hearing weird voices, sudden goosebumps for no reason, frequent mood swings, anger for no reason, restlessness, bruises on the body parts after sleeping, sudden fatigue, sudden nightmares, lack of focus and concentration, easily influenced by others, feels threatened, stays in fear, falls sick frequently, paranoia. We got psychologists that watch this channel and they're probably here going, yeah, and there's another name for that. But yeah, but hey, you know, all of these have an electrical component to it. I think if we could measure this, we could actually measure the frequency of which they're broadcasting on. Think about that one. Yes, and I have the business plan that I'm going to be responding back to the person who wrote me. So we don't have the technology yet. I think we're getting close, but I think that this is the next breakthrough in psychology. I think this is the next breakthrough in science of biology, is to be able to actually see into the visible light spectrum and record it, the exchange of what's going on with people in real time. I think that's where Facebook is going, which, you know, Facebook is, of course, a DARPA funded company. Anyway, we'll get into that later. The point is, imagine you saw someone in a room on the other side who's giving you the evil eye. How many times have you heard that? Yeah. Well, we'll get into it. So here's something very simple, and it works. How you can draw the protection symbol. Why do triangles? Because it actually traps, you know, if you have entities visiting you at night, giving you rape dreams, those kind of things, all you need to do is to draw a triangle. I tell people underneath your bed, you can be right beside your bed, and it'll stop it. Anyway, here is one that you can draw that with the all-seeing eye. Here's another one. We got a couple of these ourselves, don't we? Yeah, we do. I thought this was really, this is what's going on. If we could only become, us empaths, we need training. Just because we're empathic in our abilities doesn't mean anything. If you don't exercise it, you're going to be a wimp, a weakling. And let me just tell you, you're going to be susceptible to psychic attacks, vampiric psychics that will come in and suck you dry of your energy, and they don't even need to be around you. And this happens. It happens with women more than males, but males are not immune to it. It's the same process. It's just that women, females, have the natural gifting. That's why you have to learn how to build your spear, and then within your spear, even make it more reinforced. Because there's always someone stronger than you. Remember that. I always, almost have to have the sign. Remember, Steiger, you're a novice. At least in this life, but I'm learning. I'm getting there. Found this one was interesting. Spell to rid yourself of a psychic vampire. You would need 2 white candles representing the god, right side of the altar, and a goddess on the left side of the altar. Exorcism incense, sea salt, white light protection oil, and the spell. The spell is the right hand of, let's get this, the right hand, a white candle representing the god, left side of the white candle to represent the goddess. In the middle, sea salt in a cup or cauldron with warm water. The incense should be at the very bottom facing towards you. Take your oil and anoint each item on you, on your altar. Say these words: I ward off any and all negativity in my home, work, school, and in my everyday life. No evil or negativity shall enter here. Now, let me just say something, because a lot of times we have a lot of people who are still into a particular doctrine, and they'll say, well, this is evil. This is of the devil. No, I can take you exactly into the Old Testament and show you exactly the same thing that's being done right here. Exactly. Only difference is that they've removed the most powerful aspect, the feminine, the goddesses. The goddess is the one who started it all. But we know that within the goddess is the God. It's one of those things. Anyway, this is one of the things with the all-seeing eye, the eye of Horus. It's protection. I know people that wear this amulet, and they will swear by it. This is mine. I was drawn to this, and, it's proven. Folks, I can tell you stories. I mean, it's, yeah. But you should find your own. Remember, you are energy. And this may, in fact, what will be waiting for all of us, this realm. We have a sense that it's going to be like here on Earth. And don't think so. I think it's going to be a little different. But in any case, thought I'd just put that together for you, because next week we're going to start getting into actual spells. I have just a small sample of the books and the documents that we will actually be going through. This one is a cute one. And I say cute because, some of it I look at it and, doesn't, no connection. Others I go, well, now that's interesting. 50 of the most powerful spells on earth. It's very interesting. Protection chant. Number one, here is a protection chant to protect you from evil. You should do this before and after doing spells. Visualize yourself sitting in the middle of the pentagram, facing upwards with 3 circles of purple light around you, and say, protect me with all your might, O goddess gracious day and night. Say it 3 times, then end it with, so mote it be. Another version of the same spell, just different words, is thrice around the circles bound, sink all evil to the ground. Say it 3 times, and at the end of it, so mote it be. And remember, we don't say amen, because what you're doing, you're engaging raw. Raw men. Anyway, we've already learned that spells properly should all be in rhyme all the time. Just caught that. But in any case, purification spell. There's another protection spell for beauty, attraction spells, driving away evil, to break a curse, for success, for safe return, to be revenged on one who has done you harm. Now, let me just tell you, we're going to learn more and more. Never do an incantation in anger, retribution, with intent to do harm. It's the boomerang effect. And the thing is, the boomerang always comes around a lot more. It does. It comes back to you. You don't want that. That's why we invoke favor. I mean, we've all been done wrong. It's part of the journey. And, we learn from those experiences. They're not fun, but yet somehow or another, it's the old expression, it'll either make you or break you, one of the two. Just reading some of the other, I love all the ladies. Hey, Nick, how are you doing, my friend? So good to see you. Going to get you. Hey, Brandy. So we're going to learn. Now, we have some books that we are going to, in fact, go through. This is the one, it's the Guide to Psychic Powers by Mary Ellen Guiley. And there is another one with the book on protecting yourself psychically from Dion Fortune, who really kind of wrote the standard, but we'll get into that. So psychic attacks and psychic vampirism. She goes to say, have you ever spent time with a person who left you feeling strangely limp and drained of energy? Have you had to work with someone who was always leveling intense stares at you? Have you ever been to a place where as soon as you walk in, the very atmosphere made you feel uncomfortable or even ill, and perhaps that feeling went home with you? Most of us have had at least a few episodes of such experiences. Fortunately, in most cases, the effects soon pass. Sometimes, however, the effects not only linger, but escalate and take a serious toll on overall health and well-being. If you have had such experiences, you may have encountered psychic attacks, often subtle and sometimes deliberate means of weakening your vital life force. Psychic attack is also called psychic vampirism. Psychic attack can be perpetuated by people who know techniques for doing so, and by people who are unwittingly energy drainers. Those are the ones that I was talking about. It also comes from hostile and malevolent entities. If you encounter psychic attack, it is more likely to come from people than spirits or entities. Psychic attack affects currents and fields of energy. We live in a cosmic sea of energy exchanges. We take in a vital life force that permeates everything in existence and powers life itself and our health. We put out streams of energy in return. We have natural barriers against negative forces, but under some conditions, those barriers can be breached. And without us even realizing it. The need for psychic protection is not limited to warding off targeted psychic attacks. Every day we encounter hostile and aggressive people and situations, all of which can have a negative impact on our vitality. Psychic protection shields us from unwanted negativity, deflecting it before it has a chance to impact us. The experiences of Dion Fortune. For classic examples of psychic attack, we can turn to the English occultist Dion, who became one of the leading experts on the subject. Her expertise remains unrivaled today. She was born Violet Mary Firth. Dion Fortune was her pen name, taken from her magical motto, Dio non fortuna, by God, not chance. Fortune became an expert on psychic attack through her own experience, which she describes in her book, Psychic Self-Defense. We're going to go through that. She had her first encounter with psychic attack as a young woman of 20. She took a job working for a woman who had extensive occult knowledge she had learned during a residency in India. The woman controlled her staff with techniques of mind power, and some of her employees suffered mysterious breakdowns. Fortune herself became the object of mind manipulation when her boss wanted her to give testimony in a lawsuit. The testimony contradicted Fortune's direct knowledge of the events surrounding the suit, and she resisted. But after spending time in the presence of her boss, who gave her an intense gaze and direct her in what to say, Fortune became so dazed and exhausted, she was forced to retire to bed, where she slept for 15 straight hours. During a second session with her boss, she found herself agreeing to baseless charges. This session also was followed by extreme exhaustion and a dead sleep. When Fortune then decided to terminate her employment, her boss used the same technique to try to break her will. You are incompetent. You know it. You have no self-confidence, and you have got to admit it, the woman said. Fortune denied this. Her boss kept up this litany for 4 hours. I entered her room at 10 o'clock and left it at 2, Fortune wrote years later. She must have said these two phrases several hundred times. I entered it a strong and healthy girl. I left it a mental and physical wreck, and was ill for 3 years. Wow, now that is a psychic vampire. Fortune's experience caused her to research occultism, to determine what had happened to her and how she have defended herself against it. My body was like an electric battery that had been completely discharged, she said. It took a long time to charge up again, and every time it was used before charging was completed, it ran down again repeatedly for a long time. I had no reserves of energy, and with the least exertion would fall into a deep sleep at any hour of the day. Her research led her to conclude that damage had been sustained by her etheric double, also called the etheric template, a layer of the aura that channels the universal life forces to the body for physical health and for our personality and self-expression. Fortune believed that the damage to her etheric double caused by the woman created a leak in her life force. Thus, she suffered profound exhaustion and mental fatigue. Fortune furthered her knowledge by joining the ranks of leading occultists. She became a member of the Stella Mutuni, Mutunia, the outer order of the esteemed Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The Golden Dawn was formed in the late 19th century in London as an esoteric order and soon became a magical order. Its members included many of the most skilled occultists of the day. After a period of time in the Golden Dawn, Fortune left and formed her own order, which became the Society of the Inner Light. Check it out. I went to their website. Yeah, it's if you're in London, you have the opportunity where you can actually be tutored in these classes. The rest of us, we just and they don't take everybody. If you're absolutely convinced that you are an initiate, you have to fill out this whole questionnaire, which is the proper way that it works. All right. Fortune was gifted physically and medium statistically and had a great talent for magical arts. She witnessed bizarre phenomena and participated in psychic feuds, fending off psychic attacks in the name of the masters of the Great White Lodge. As she wrote later, she kept the occult vigil when one dare not sleep while the sun is below the horizon, and hung on desperately, matching my staying power against the attack until the moon tides changed and the force of the onslaught blew itself out. She worked as a psychiatrist and attributed many of the symptoms in cases she saw to psychic attacks. Fortune's work and experience gained her expert knowledge of how psychic attacks occur, their symptoms in unsuspecting victims, and how the attacks can be warded off or nullified. I am of the opinion, she wrote, that psychic attacks are far more common than is generally realized, even by occultists themselves. The purpose of psychic attacks are to weaken, debilitate, and destroy, to bend the will of the victim, or to draw off life force energy that is used by the attacker. In all cases, the victim ultimately is physically vampirized due to loss of life force. Exhaustion sets in, and in extreme cases, the victim may fall seriously ill. Fortune believed herself to be physically attacked numerous times. In one case, she awoke one morning with dried blood on her pillow from a small puncture behind the angle of the jaw. She attributed the puncture to an attack by a girl who was a psychic vampire. Others in the girl's proximity responded, getting the same puncture marks and blood spots. Fortune's help was sought by many who feared they were victims of occult attack. One case was that of Mr. C and his two wives who were victimized by a Mrs. X. As a young girl, Mrs. X had been engaged to a man who, soon after the engagement was announced, developed consumption and died of a violent hemorrhage. A few years later, she became engaged again, and the second fiancé also developed consumption. Although he too hemorrhaged, his illness lingered, and he lived as an invalid for years. During his illness, Miss X took a house, moved him in, and installed an aunt as a chaperone. The aunt soon developed listlessness, and for days at a stretch would lie unconscious. However, no cause of her illness could be found. While her fiancé and aunt was ill, Miss X entertained herself by visiting Mr. and Mrs. C. She became infatuated with Mr. C, but her attentions went unrequited. Mrs. C soon died of uterine cancer. Much to the chagrin of Miss X, Mr. C married another woman. The health of the second Mrs. C soon declined. She suffered nightmares, epileptic-like fits, weakness, and fatigue. Eventually, she was diagnosed as having uterine cancer. She too died. About the same time, Miss X's aunt and second fiance also succumbed. Miss X suffered a mental breakdown and was admitted to a nursing home in the country. In all likelihood, Fortune concluded her vampirism finally turned on herself. Most cases of psychic attack are not so extreme, but this one illustrates the potential danger involved. Fortune's book, Psychic Self-Defense, is still in print today and is considered one of the best resources on psychic attack. The Parasite. Today, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, 1859 to 1930, is best known for his Sherlock Holmes mysteries, but his personal interest spread deeply into the paranormal and the occult. He was active in physical research of mediumship, survival after death, and spiritualism. He also knew a great deal about psychic attack. In 1894, long before his contemporary, Dion Fortune had her devastating experience with her superior at work. Doyle wrote a novelette or short story, The Parasite, describing in chilling detail the predatory tactics that Fortune would soon encounter. It was initially published in Harper's Weekly and eventually went on to be adapted into a film in 1997. Doyle offers no information in any introductory remarks as to his motive for writing the story. Did he learn about psychic attacks from his occult-educated peers and thought it to make a great story, or was he a victim of psychic attack himself? The psychic vampire in Doyle's story is Miss Penalosa, a crippled old maid who becomes obsessed with a much younger college professor named Austin Gilroy, who does not believe in the occult, but his lack of belief and knowledge will soon be his peril. Miss Penalosa is deceptive in appearance. She certainly does not look like someone who could destroy a person's life. She is a small and frail creature with a pale, peaky face, insignificant presence, and a retiring manner. She requires a crutch to walk. This appearance turns out to be misleading to the destruction of Gilroy. Miss Penalosa's vampiric powers are evidenced in her remarkable eyes. She first attacks Gilroy's fiancée, Agatha, mesmerizing her. Then she saps the professor's vitality, making him waste away and acquire dark, sunken eyes. To his horror, he realizes that he has fallen under the influence and that she is a monster parasite who creeps into my form as the hermit crab creeps into the whale shell. He tries to resist, but whenever he is in her presence, he becomes weaker still. Gilroy shuts himself up in his bedroom and tosses the key out the window into the garden. He experiences some relief, but then he learns that Miss Penalosa has been ill at the same time, and her powers weakened whenever she is ill. He remains sequestered, but when she regains her strength and powers, he is irresistibly pulled out. When Gilroy next finds himself in Miss Penalosa's presence, he denounces her in fury. This seems to break her hold on him, but once again, the effect is only temporary. She visits the professor and warns him of the consequences of spurning her. Gilroy continues loathing, incites Mrs. Penalosa to anger and a determination to destroy him. She persecutes him mercilessly. Gilroy is driven to confide his woes to a colleague who prescribes traditional remedies of chloral and bromide. Gilroy does not believe these will help him, and he throws them in the gutter. Miss Penalosa foments gossip about Gilroy and uses her powers to ruin his concentration during his lectures, causing him to babble nonsense. He becomes a laughingstock and is suspended from his position. Alone and in despair, Gilroy knows that no one will believe the truth about what has happened to him. He descends into madness, robs a bank, assaults a friend, and nearly mutilates the face of Agatha. His misery ends only when Miss Penalosa suddenly dies. The Parasite is a dark story, for the protagonist had no effective defense against the vampire, who ensnares him in a spider-like way, a web. His only relief comes through her death due to outside circumstances. Dole went for tragedy in The Parasite, but psychic attacks need not end that way. Just as Fortune found her way out of the dire circumstances, so do others. The best approach to psychic attack is prevention and defense, and knowledgeable responses if defenses are breached. Symptoms of psychic attack and psychic vampirism. Symptoms of an attack are varied and include unexplained behavior, disturbed dreams and violent nightmares, bedroom visitation by dark entities, repulsive smells, exhaustion, dizziness, mental confusion and breakdown, foreign and alien thoughts, especially of unpleasant or violent nature, unexplained and unresolved illness, the outbreak of poltergeist phenomena in the home, unexplained bruises, cuts, or small marks representing pricks or bites, and mental or physical possession. Not every case of psychic attack involves all or even most of these symptoms. Some of them are related to natural causes, and so one should not automatically assume psychic attack, but rule out natural explanations first. Vulnerable circumstances. Psychic attack can be carried out around the clock. However, we have windows of greater vulnerability. As mentioned, sleeping is a vulnerable state. During the night, we are most vulnerable between 3 and 5 a.m., when the life force currents are slow or lower. It is no accident that many victims say they wake up to a bedroom visitation around 3 a.m. Similarly, we are at an energy low point between 2 and 4 p.m. during the day. This is often the time when people feel drowsy and unfocused. The waning and dark moon phases are vulnerable times as well, when the lunar forces on the tides of life are lower. The moon regulates the tides of the oceans, and in occultism also regulates the flow of life, of the life force in the body, including blood and vital fluids. Thus, the waxing moon brings increased strength and vitality, and the waning moon brings an ebb of energy. This is what Fortune referred to when she described how, in her psychic attack defense, she hung on desperately, matching my staying power against the attack until the moon tides changed. Fortune identified 4 major conditions of vulnerability. 1, being in a place where occult forces are concentrated. Examples are haunted places polluted by negative energy and presences, such as old prisons, sanitariums, and asylums, and places where considerable ritual activity has been carried out. Those are, to me, a lot of times when I'm hearing this, it's like they're not sealing the vortex, the openings, the portals. 2, encountering people who are adept at handling occult forces. Some of them are opportunists who will take advantage of others. 3, dabbling in the occult and getting out of one's depth. The popularity of ghost investigating has drawn many people into experimenting with spirits summoning without having the proper background, knowledge, or training. 4, falling victims to certain pathological conditions. Poor health on any level, physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, weakens the vital life force and the aurora boundary that surrounds the body. Wow, this is so knowledgeable. You liking this? I can't see anyone's comment, but I am. Let's continue. Sources of psychic attack and psychic vampirism. Most people will never experience the extreme levels of psychic attack described and experienced by Dion Fortune. Her boss, as she noted, was skilled in occult techniques. After Fortune became involved in the magical community, the occult battles she engaged in on the astral plane were fought by skilled adepts. Psychic attack was carried out by thought form and by engaging the help of malevolent entities. There are other sources of deliberate and unwitting attacks that we may or more likely to encounter. Most of the remedies for them are dealt with the subsequent chapters. Some are given in this chapter. Let's talk about a couple. Toxic people. Toxic people are individuals who harbor resentment, anger, and envy. They spew out negative energy, and others around them may be impacted by it, depending upon their sensitivity and vulnerability. Sometimes their hostility is deliberately directed at an individual, someone they dislike, want to control, and see as a rival. Some of them may know enough about hypnosis or protection of mental energy to strike out deliberately against a person. For example, to try to make them feel weak, disempowered, or undesirable. The energy coming off toxic people can boomerang around public places. When it is concentrated, directed, and ongoing, such as in personal relationships and workplace environments, it can become a serious problem. Curses. Human beings have leveled curses against one another since ancient times. As Plato noted in his Republic, if anyone wishes to injure an enemy, for a small fee, they, the sorcerers, will bring harm on good or bad alike, binding the gods to serve their purposes by spells and curses. The Romans consulted professional cursors to act out against their rivals and enemies, even in sporting events. The curses were written and involved the aid of spirits and the gods to carry them out. Most curses are in a form of psychic attack intended to bring misfortune, illness, harm, even death to a victim. They are laid or thrown primarily for revenge and power. Some curses are for protection of homes, treasures, tombs, and grave sites. Violators will suffer. A curse can take effect quickly or may be dormant for years. Curses have been laid upon families, plaguing them for generations. Every culture today has beliefs in and techniques for cursing. People throw curses themselves, or they engage the services of someone skilled in the occult and magical arts. Most curses are of a highly personal nature and usually revolve around love rivalries, spurned love, money issues, and personal revenge. The ancients wrote their curses and invoked supernatural help in carrying them out. Other methods of cursing are to use substitutes for the victims, such as a waxen image, a puppet, small dog, or photograph. Whenever is done to the substitute supposedly will be done to and felt by the victim, voodoo. The cursed gift is a frequent method of delivering psychic attack. Any object can be imbued with a curse: jewelry, clothing, paintings, furniture, accessories, personal items, and so on, just as objects can be imbued with healing and protective energy. In our book, Haunted by the Things You Loved, John Zephylis and I documented cases of cursed objects that wreaked havoc with the victims. In several cases, the objects were a gift from a spurned lover, who pretended to make amends, but really sought to break up the new relationships or a marriage. The victims experienced nightmares, disturbing poltergeist phenomena, deteriorating health, and stress with their spouses or partners. The most common form of cursing, and the one most likely to be experienced in everyday life, is ill wishing. I wish you go to hell, that kind of stuff. It involves the harboring of resentment, anger, jealousy, and other negative energy against a person, combined with wishing that bad things will happen to them. Workplace competition and family rivalries can generate quite a bit of ill wishing. People engage in ill wishing all the time. Much of it never impacts the target because it is intermittent and not focused. However, a steady stream of ill wishing can be deliberating, if nothing more than to cause discomfort in another person. Toxic people are likely to engage in ill wishing a great deal, even if they do not realize exactly what they're doing. They are unhappy with themselves and in their lives and blame others for it. Ill wishing can be deflected and neutralized with the remedies offered in this book. If you suspect you have been given a cursed object, do not leave it in your home or work environment, but remove it immediately. Invoke prayers and spiritual help to neutralize the curse and dispose of the object by wrapping it and burying it in the earth or deep water, or by throwing it away. Do not burn an object, for the sudden destruction may cause an explosion of an occupying spirit, which will immediately seek attachment to something or someone else. Wow, now there's a heavy one. Formal cursing, in which a skilled person has been engaged to throw a curse with the help of low-level spirits, usually requires getting the help of someone equally skilled who knows how to break or nullify it. All right, we'll pick up this on Monday. This is where we'll get into unwinning energy vampires. But I don't know about you, but I have found this fascinating because let's be honest with one another. We see it all the time. Many of us in our past lives, you see it flagrantly, ill wishing. I mean, think about it. It's everywhere. It's on every media form. I think you can. Yes, Truth in Me. Yes, you can. It reverses. It's transmuting the intent. Now, what I've already read the book, so what you're going to find out when we do this, that negativity that was focused on you, right? When you transmute the curse to favor, boom, baby, it hits the one who sent it back. And it's not with the same force. It's amplified. And they can't do anything with it. So, well, Darth, now you do know, my friend. Now you do. Timmy says, wow. Well, that was for dramatic purposes, but you get the idea. Folks, we're going to learn. And woe unto the fool that would try to come against us. As our group continues to gain in knowledge, and as we begin to learn to temper and begin to control and to begin to transmute the things that we have been subjected to all of our lives, we're going to change the environment. I was talking with Trina, and it's happening. What Karen, Queen of Courts, is doing, the Crystal Network, all of this, with the knowledge we're learning today, just think what this group has learned today. What you've learned in the little bit of reading I did can absolutely turn your life around immediately. And we're going to learn a lot more. So this is what it's about. This is not for everybody. We know this. But for those of us who have been waiting, training, seeking, asking, searching, we're finding our answers. And the answers are wonderful. I mean, yeah, it's knowledge. Okay. Thank you, Terry. Thank you very much. So all of you groovy people, have yourselves a fantastic, strong end of the week. We don't call it the weekend. We only get the strong end. And however you want to take it. So enjoy it. I'll see you back here on Monday, and we're going to pick this right up. I mean, this is the type of stuff that, well, when we get through, whenever that is, wow, they're going to look at us going, them people know something. All right. Thank you so much, folks. You all just the very best. I just invoke favor upon you, safety this weekend, and we will simply focus in on the fact that favor protects us. It's that it adds to the spear, to the shield, and that's how we work. And it's going to be remarkable. Many of you who've been very sensitive to people who attack you, with terrible things, saying things, you're going to learn that will no longer penetrate. You're going to learn how to absolutely absorb that and reverse it. And that's what it's about, so we can get our happy dance on. All right, folks, I'll see you on Monday. All right, bye-bye.